Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all to today's exclusive webinar on unlocking the power of NPS, its features and benefits. Myself, Akshita Jain from NPS product team will be your host for today's session. Also, we are excited to have Mr. Lyle Mendes from PCRA team to join the session and share his valuable insights on NPS. Welcome, Lyle.
Thank you, Akshita, for inviting me to this session today, and warm welcome to all the participants as well.
Thank you, Lyle. Also, I'd like to thank all the attendees to join the session. So let's start with the basic, Lyle. Let's help our understand how they can save tax and create a long-term retirement secure future. Let's start with the basic. So Lyle, can you please explain what is exactly NPS is, how it got started, and who all are eligible to open an NPS account?
Absolutely. So NPS is a product that was launched by the Government of India, and it was initially exclusively launched for all the government sector employees in the year 2004. In May of 2009, this was open to all the citizens of India, that is, any individual citizen of India between the age of 18 to 70 years can avail the benefits of NPS. Now, this same facility was then extended in 2011 to the corporate sector as well, wherein a corporate could register themselves and provide this benefit, especially in the private sector domain. Now, it is a voluntary savings scheme that also helps you to gain additional tax benefits over and above the ATC limits. And it's designed ideally so that an individual can create a dedicated retirement corpus for themselves. And they can do this through systematically saving during their salaried or working tenure. Now, the administrator for this is Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority, or in short, you can call this as PFRDA.
Right. So NPS right now, Lyle, is not only a retirement, but it is also a necessity to create a financial planning, right? Retirement planning is a part of financial planning. So as of now, even if you are is in 20s or 30s, it's better you as soon as you start investing in NPS, you'll get a good retirement corpus, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the earlier you begin, you allow the power of compounding to work for a number of years through which you can generate a healthy retirement corpus. Not only can you utilize that money during your retirement, but you can get your pensions as well from that, which you can enjoy lifelong.
Right. So, like there are two types of contribution in NPS, the voluntary as well as employer contribution. Just like that, there are two different types of NPS account which are there, tier one account and tier two account. So, which is a mandatory account or whether both the account are mandatory to be open in NPS?
So NPS offers dual benefits in terms of opening two types of accounts. The tier one, which is a mandatory account, it is also called as a retirement account. All the tax benefits in NPS lie with this tier one account. So any investment that you make for tax benefits has to be made in your tier one account. Now you can make a voluntary contribution to your tier one account. You can have only the employer facilitated contribution to the tier one account. You can have a mix of both employer and your voluntary contribution to your tier one account. Now, this tier one account, since it is known also as a retirement account, any withdrawals that you make pre-retirement are limited and they're subject to certain conditions. A minimum contribution for account opening is 500, and a minimum annual contribution of at least rupees 1000 needs to be made to this tier 1 account to keep it active. You can have n number of contributions. You can have unlimited number of contributions made to your tier 1 account. Tier 2 is a very interesting account. It is a voluntary add-on account which has no separate CRA or joining charges. Additionally, you can make 100% of equity allocation to your tier 2 account, and you can 100% do a withdrawal from your tier 2 account as well. Now, only your voluntary contributions can be made to the tier 1 account. And as I said before, in terms of withdrawal facility, 100% withdrawal can be made in this tier 2 account. A minimum contribution to open this account is just rupees 1000, with the added advantage that you have no separate CRA or joining charges. And again, in terms of the number of contributions or the frequency of contributions, you can make n number, you can make as many contributions as you desire.
So we can simply term a tier 2 account as an investment account and tier 1 as a tax benefit account, right? Over here in tier 1 account, you mentioned there are limited condition on the withdrawal part. This is just because the NPS is a very disciplined approach type of investment, wherein like in other investment, you can impulsively withdraw anytime. It's help you, there are certain condition put in the tier 1 account. The whole and the main purpose of NPS is to give you a good retirement corpus so that you can enjoy your second inning of your life with a steady pension, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the tier one account, there is, you could say, a certain lock-in that is to keep you invested in this account for your retirement, right? So NPS is designed in a way that you remain disciplined and keep investing to this account, and the rewards for which you reap at the time of your retirement or when you exit NPS once you are done with your working tenure. That's the way the principle of NPS worked, as with any other investments where you remain invested long term.
So, coming to the most attractive part of investing in NPS, the tax benefits. In NPS is a AAA tax benefit product. It gives you benefit in three different basket. Basket one is your normal investment where you can get the benefit up to 1.5 lakh by investing in ELSS, PPF, insurance. There's a second basket wherein if you do a voluntary contribution, you can get an additional tax benefit up to 50,000. And there's a third basket that is the NPS employer contribution, wherein if you contribute in NPS as a part of your salary, in that you can get the tax benefit up to 7.5 lakhs in a financial year. Of course, this 7.5 lakh is inclusive of your EPF, NPS, and superannuation. But there are three different baskets available wherein you can get the tax benefit, right?
Yes, absolutely. You've simplified it and made it very easy to understand. So yes, you have triple tax benefits in NPS if you are part of the old tax regime. The basket one consists of your ATC investments such as the LSS, PPF, and you have not fulfilled your bucket, you can do so in the ATCCD1 bucket. Additionally, you can also make your voluntary contribution under Section 80 CCD 1B. This is again part of the old tax regime itself, where you can make a maximum benefit that you can avail is up to 50,000. However, there is no upper capping on how much you can invest in NPS. The tax benefits have a set limit. And when you come to the employer part, an additional avenue opens up when you link your NPS account to the employer bucket as well. In the old tax regime, you can invest up to 10% of your basic under Section 80 CCD2, wherein your employer will deduct it from the CTC and transfer it to your NPS account. And yes, the maximum benefit or the max limit that one can avail of in terms of tax benefit is up to 7.5 lakhs, which includes a combination of your employer contribution towards PF, NPS, and a superannuation if applicable. And if you have opted for the new tax regime, then you can still be part of NPS by investing through the employer. Here, you can invest up to 14% of your basic under Section 80 CCD2. Again, the upper capping remains the same in terms of tax benefit, that is 7.5 lakhs, which includes the employer contribution towards PF, NPS, and superannuation.
Uh, that's right, Lyle. You have explained it beautifully. So NPS is designed in a such way that all income group can invest in NPS, whether you are a salaried person or whether you are self-employed person. You can still invest in NPS and get the tax benefit. So, Lyle, let's help our audience to understand it in a better way with an illustration.
Yes. So this is a simple salary slip or a simple illustration of a salary slip, depending on which regime one has selected, whether it is old tax or the new tax regime. Now, looking at the old tax regime, we've assumed a basic year of 7,50,000. And if you just come down and you see just above the red box, you would have two deductions, which is firstly the standard deduction of 50,000, and Section 80C is already fulfilled either through ELSS, LIC, Sukanya Samriddhi, etc. Right? Then you come to the red box, and additional two deductions are seen. The first is through the employer, since we have tagged the account to the employer bucket under Section 80 CCD2, where we are investing up to 10% of the basic. In this case, 75,000. Additionally, as an individual voluntary contributor to NPS, under Section 80 CCD 1B, I am also making this 50,000 contribution. Now, this combined amount, 75,000 plus 50,000, will further reduce my total taxable income, thus enabling me my tax saving. Now, if I've opted for the new tax regime, then I can invest up to 14% of my basic in the new tax regime, where through the employer, this deduction can be availed of. Here, 1,05,000 will get reduced from my total taxable income, thus enabling me my tax saving. However, in the new tax regime, uh, the individual contributions that you make for your investments are no longer applicable for tax benefits. Only and only the employer benefit under Section 80 CCD2 is applicable for tax benefits in the new tax regime.
Right. So NPS is a unique product as it offers four different asset class. Right now in the market there are various investment tool available in, right, but NPS is a unique product as it offer four different asset class. So what are the four different asset class right now in which the investors money will get invested?
So investors have one of the best features of NPS is not just its tax saving proposition, but also the freedom to select your investment pattern. Investment options in terms of asset classes, an individual has four options to choose from. They can go for equity related investments under asset class E. They can go for corporate debt and related instruments under asset class C. They can also go for government bonds and asset class G. And they can also invest under alternate investment funds such as cash management bills, real estate investment trusts, etc. Right? A combination of these four can be availed of by the individual, and they are free to select this as per their risk taking ability. Additionally, the best part of NPS is that it gives you the freedom and flexibility to change your asset class ratio four times in a financial year. So if I've selected 75% in equity and 25% in government bonds, I can change that ratio four times in a financial year.
Right. So you have here it is mentioned that it is similar to a mutual fund where the customer will get the NAV when they invest, right? So they'll get the unit. So customer have an option over here to do an SIP or a voluntary contribution. When there is market, when the market is down, they can invest in SIP in equity, right? Or if the market is high, they can still invest in corporate bonds and safeguard their particular investment, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the NPS offers the functionality to do an SIP as well. So that averages out or in the long term benefits and takes advantage of the market high and lows as well. Additionally, if need be, you can always shift from equity to asset class G or asset class C in terms of when the markets are crashing, or if you are actively participating in checking the markets, you can monitor and change the asset class ratio basis your inputs and risk taking ability. So that flexibility NPS will always offer you, giving you the freedom and choice to select your asset class mix.
So talking about the asset allocation, Lyle, there are three different asset investment choice which has been given to our customer. So first is the active choice, which is a customized investment option. This is the choice suitable for one who wants to manage their own fund. So according to the risk appetite, they can mention the percentage of the contribution which will get invested to the various different asset class.
Yes. So the asset class that under active choice is, in simple terms, you can call it as a do-it-yourself choice, wherein you define the percentage mix of the asset classes. To give you a simple example, if under equity, I have selected the maximum limit of 75% and 25% I've selected in corporate bonds, then that ratio will continue to remain the same until and unless I manually change it. Now, if I want, I can go for 100% in corporate bonds, 100% in government bonds, whereas the maximum permissible limit under equity is up to 75% in my tier one account, and alternate investment funds, the maximum permissible limit is up to 5%. Additionally, I can select multiple asset classes under a single PFM as well.
So as I've mentioned, NPS is designed in a such a way that every investor can invest in NPS. So for the ones who don't want to manage their funds, we do have an option called auto choice from them, wherein the ready-made baskets are available and they can choose according to the risk appetite, whatever the basket is suitable, like aggressive, moderate, and conservative. Could you please highlight some points on auto choice?
Absolutely. So auto choice is a predefined ratio basis which has a reducing equity allocation basis someone's age. So basically, as my age increases, my equity exposure reduces, and that in corporate debt and government bonds increases, right? For example, in auto choice, I have three choices. I can go for the aggressive portfolio, which is LC75. I can go for moderate, which is LC50. I can go for conservative, which is LC25. Again, this gives me additional flexibility to choose the type of investment I want and the type of risk that I'm willing to take. Under aggressive, 75% of my contribution will be towards equity till the age of 35 years, and the tapering for equity and corporate bonds begins after 35 years of age. Likewise, in moderate, it's 50% towards equity, and in conservative, 25% will be under equity.
Right. So this is the life cycle, auto choice life cycle fund, wherein how according to your age, the percentage of allocation from equity will go on decreasing, and your contribution towards your corporate bonds and government bond will get on increases because equity is highly risky and highly reward. But since you are choosing it according to your risk appetite, there are according to your life cycle, the equity exposure and the other asset class exposure will go on increasing and decreasing, right?
Exactly, exactly. So this chart basically brilliantly highlights how the percentage allocation for different asset classes work under auto choice. So if you look at the aggressive life cycle fund, let's assume somebody at age 25 has selected LC 75. Then up to the age of 35, the equity exposure will be 75%, whereas corporate bonds will be 10 and government bonds will be 15. As soon as the individual turns 36 years of age, the equity exposure gradually will start reducing. That difference is transferred to corporate and government bonds. Year on year, the equity exposure continues to decrease, whereas the government bonds or the government securities continues to increase. Finally, when an individual turns 55 years of age, their equity exposure will be just 15%, whereas corporate bonds will be 10 and government bonds will increase to 75%. Likewise, in moderate, the tapering begins from 50% and 36 years onwards, 2% every year gradually starts reducing. Likewise, in the conservative life cycle, that is LC25, the equity exposure up to 35 years is 25%, and every year post that, 1% gradually starts reducing in equity. So basically, as my age increases, my risk of equity exposure gradually reduces, whereas that in government bonds or government debt increases.
So here there's a limitation up to the age of 35, right? So we do
Yes,
have some investor who want the equity exposure more up to the age of 45. So recently there was a different choice which was given to the customer, that is the balanced life cycle fund. So can you please highlight some points on how it impacts the return and how it is different from the auto choice?
absolutely. So an additional life cycle fund, that is the balanced life cycle fund, was introduced for subscribers to choose. And the tapering for the equity component begins from after rather 45 years of age in the balanced life cycle fund. So a higher portion is allocated to take advantage of the equity segment, wherein the tapering from 50% gradually starts reducing after 45 years of age. So 1% each year it reduces, and the capping at 55 years of age also remains a little higher at 35%. So giving you a balanced portfolio with the right amount of exposure towards equity, corporate debt, and government bonds.
We do similar to the auto choice, we do have a life cycle fund also, wherein after the age of 45 your equity exposure will go on decreasing, and vice versa your corporate bonds and government bonds percentage will increase, right?
Correct, correct. So in the balanced life cycle fund, as you can see in this chart, the equity component remains at 50% till the age of 45 years. And gradually, as the person's date of birth approaches, which is the 46th date birthday, the equity component reduces by 2%, corporate bonds also reduces by 2%, and government bonds increases by 4%. And finally, by the time the individual turns 55 years of age and crosses that as well, the equity exposure remains at 35%, corporate bonds at 10, whereas government securities has now increased to 55 percentage.
Right. So similarly, wherein we have given the choice to our investors to choose their own investment choice, we do have an option of, you can call as a flexibility to our subscriber, that they can choose their own PFM, and also they have an option to change their PFM once in a financial year if they are not getting the right return from the PFM they have selected.
Absolutely. So, NPS is a product that is feature laden, and the best part about NPS is its flexibility. Again, in terms of the asset class, in or rather, in addition to the flexibility that is offered to the individual in terms of selecting their asset class, they also have the freedom and flexibility to choose their own pension fund manager. Uh, so, any one of the 11 pension fund managers can be selected, and once in a financial year, they can also change their pension fund manager. And to make a good estimate on how the pension fund managers are performing, an individual can simply log on to the HDFC Security website where they can check the latest returns of the fund managers, or on the NPS Trust website as well, where they can view the fund manager performances. So all the information is available freely for the individual to make good informed choices in NPS.
That's a great feature, Lyle. I believe. Just imagine if your mutual fund doesn't perform, you will switch, right? Similarly, in NPS, you will not get locked into a single PFM. You can switch between your PFM.
Absolutely. That's the facility and the flexibility that NPS as a product offers the subscribers.
So we have mentioned about the tax benefit wherein you get the tax benefit on your investment. But when you get retired, when you take an exit or when you take a withdrawal, so what are the tax implication? How the amount will be taxable, or what amount will be taxable?
Yes. So one of the great part about NPS again is the taxability on withdrawals, right? So any lump sum withdrawal that an individual makes is exempt from tax, whether it is the partial withdrawal, that is 25% of their individual contribution is exempt from tax. If they opt for a premature exit, that is before their actual age of retirement or before the age of 60, they wish to exit NPS, then 20% of the lump sum withdrawal from their corpus that they make is again exempt from tax. And in the scenario where an individual reaches the age of 60 or superannuation, then 60% of their entire corpus they can withdraw as tax free. This is a huge chunk of amount that an individual can utilize at least upon reaching the age of retirement or when they take an exit from NPS.
So let's talk about one by one the liquidity options available to the investor. First is the partial withdrawal, which is allowed for tier one contribution, but of course there are certain limitation on that. So could you please explain what how partial withdrawal works?
Sure. So partial withdrawal is applicable only to the voluntary or the individual contribution that I have made to my NPS account. And I can exercise this option of partial withdrawal after 3 years of continuous participation in NPS. The maximum now that I can withdraw from my voluntary contribution is 25%. And I can do this a total of 3 times in the entire tenure of my NPS, and this amount that I withdraw is again exempt from tax. But there are certain conditions through which I can utilize this option, maybe for children's higher education, marriage of children, or maybe for a critical illness, skill development, or establishing my own venture or startup as well.
So here it is mentioned that it is only for the voluntary contribution, right? A partial withdrawal can be done. What
Yeah.
about if anyone wants to do a withdrawal if they had done an employer contribution?
So in terms of employer contribution, they can opt for a premature exit or a post-retirement exit. But considering somebody, let's assume at 55 decides to exit from NPS, right? They can do so through premature exit option. The minimum criteria that they have to remain part of NPS for a continuous period of 5 years. Here, a maximum of 20% of their total corpus they can withdraw as lump sum, which will be tax exempt. The remaining 80% or minimum 80% of their accumulated total corpus will be utilized to purchase an annuity plan through which they will get their pensions. Now, in the scenario where the total corpus of the individual is either 2.5 lakh rupees or below, then the full withdrawal of this amount can also be made for an individual who opts for a premature exit.
Okay. So you have talked about the options available if they want to take an exit or withdrawal before attaining the age of 60. How does the withdrawal work at the age of 60? How does maturity happens? Is it online or customer has to visit anywhere? How does maturity works?
So, NPS, like I said, is a tool that is at the fingertips of the individual. So they need not visit any physical branch or need not fill out any physical forms. They can exercise the option of exit through their mobile phones or through their login as well. So completely digital process will hardly take 3 to 4 minutes to complete. Now, upon attaining the age of superannuation and taking an exit, you have multiple options as a subscriber that you can exercise. You can withdraw 60% of this entire corpus tax free. You can also extend and continue an NPS by doing just a minimum contribution of 1,000 per year till the age of 75 years. Additionally, you can defer your lump sum withdrawal or you can defer your annuity purchase as well. And an additional option is you can park the 60% of your lump sum withdrawal and opt for a systematic withdrawal plan or a systematic lump sum withdrawal. Now, the remaining 40% that is part of your lump sum has to be utilized for purchasing an annuity. And in case your total value of your corpus is 5 lakh rupees or below, then 100% of this withdrawal is also allowed.
So here you have mentioned a part called SLW, wherein the customer, if they don't want to withdraw the whole amount, 60% amount as a lump sum, he can do an SLW. Can you please highlight this, its feature, how SLW works?
Absolutely. So SLW is one of the most interesting features of NPS. This is a live case scenario basically of someone who retired on 30th of November 2023. Now the total corpus that the individual had was 91 lakh 26,000, of which 60% they chose to withdraw as lump sum and allocate it to SLW, that is 54 lakh 75,000. The balance amount, 40%, was converted as annuity. They purchased an annuity plan of 36 lakh 50,000 and they are getting their monthly pensions separately. Now, this remaining amount, that is 54 lakh 75,000, monthly payout they received is 30,421. Yearly, that amount comes to 3 lakh 65,000. The balance amount, that is 51 lakh 10,000, continues to remain invested as per in the market as per the last selected scheme preference. Year on year, this amount continues to get reinvested all the while you are getting a monthly payout and you are getting your annuity or pension separately. And at the end of a 15-year tenure, the total lump sum withdrawal that the individual can make is 86 lakh 91,000. All the while they are getting their pensions separately as well.
And also, there was one point which you have mentioned in premature exit as well as the maturity exit. That is about the annuity. Some of the amount, let's say, suppose in case of maturity maturity, 40% of the amount should be used as a purchase of annuity. So what are the different options? What are the different plans in annuity? How annuity works?
So, one of the mandatory components in NPS is the purchase of annuity for minimum amount or minimum corpus of 40% value. There are two types of annuity plans. You can broadly classify them rather into two categories, that is with ROP and without ROP. Now, ROP stands for return of purchase price. Now, taking the first example, that is annuity for life with ROP. Here, as a subscriber, when I opt for this option, I will get annuity till I am alive. And upon my death, since I have selected a return of purchase premium policy, the entire value that I have utilized for purchasing this annuity plan is returned to the nominee. In the case of a without ROP plan, annuity for life without ROP, I will get pension till I am alive, and upon death, no amount is paid to the nominee. In the case of a joint life annuity with ROP, the subscriber will get annuity till they are alive. Upon death of the subscriber, the spouse will get the same amount of pension till she is alive. And upon demise of the spouse, the annuity, the amount that I've utilized to purchase the annuity will be returned to the nominee. In the case of joint life annuity without ROP, as a subscriber, I will get pension till I'm alive. Upon death, the spouse will get pension till they are alive. And upon death of the spouse, no amount is payable to anyone. And there is one additional option, which is the NPS family income with ROP. Here, as a subscriber, when I opt for this option, I will get pension. I will get annuity till I'm alive. Upon death, in case I have a spouse, the spouse will get pension. Upon demise of the spouse, the dependent mother will get pension. And upon death of the dependent mother, dependent father will get the pension. And upon the demise of the last annuitant, the nominee or legal heir will get the full value of the purchase price of the annuity plan. One additional benefit of taking an annuity from NPS is that GST is not applicable on purchase of the annuity plan. So straight saving of additional 1.8% is available for the subscriber on selecting an annuity plan as well.
Okay. So you have talked about the annuity plan. So who will be giving the annuity to the subscriber? Whether the same PFM which the subscriber has chosen will continue, or there are different ASPs available.
Yes, so there are a total of 15 annuity service providers, all have that have been authorized by PFRDA. Now, as I mentioned and highlighted before as well, NPS is a platform that offers you with flexibility, and you are again free to select the annuity service provider basis your choice. Additionally, to even view the annuity quotes, you can do so on the CRA platform. You can do a simple Google search on NPS annuity quotes, where you can input the basic details without sharing your contact details to view the annuity service providers and their rates for each of the plans. Additionally, please feel free to utilize the NPS calculator through which you can see how much of contribution you can make to arrive at a certain goal till your retirement and the tentative pension that you will also receive upon your retirement.
I just want to add one point over here, Lyle, that NPS is giving you the flexibility to choose the ASP which you want, but the only option which is not available is to switch between ASP. So you have to wisely choose the ASP at the time of taking a premature exit or the maturity. Correct me if I'm wrong over here, Lyle.
Yes, so absolutely. So, in terms of selecting of an annuity service provider, you have to do that only when you are taking an exit, not when you are starting your NPS account, not when you are working or when you are contributing to your NPS account. So only when you have decided that you wish to exit from NPS is when you need to select your annuity service provider. So basically, at the time of 60 or at the time of your retirement, when you decide that you need to go for annuity, that's when you need to select this annuity service provider.
So in the annuity other plan, you have mentioned that they do have an option of joint life and family plan. So what happens in case of death before maturity? Is the amount been transferred to any trust or someone? Where will be the amount gone?
So, in terms of selecting of an annuity plan, in case someone is unfortunate event such as death occurs of an individual during their working tenure, during their contribution phase, as we call it, then the nominee or legal heir can withdraw the entire 100% of this corpus. And in the scenario when someone has taken an exit from NPS and death occurs, then the nominee or legal heir would receive the proceeds as per the selected scheme or the selected annuity plan that the individual has taken, whether it is a with ROP or a without ROP plan.
So, Lyle, we have covered a lot in today's session about the tax benefit to the investment strategy and the investment option of which is available to our subscriber, right? So, anyone who has not opened the NPS account can just open the NPS account within 10 minutes. It's a seamless journey which is available. You can just click on onenps.hdfcsec.com. You need the below documents which is required, and you can open the NPS account within 10 minutes. And in case if you face any issue, I have mentioned the help desk contact number as well as the email ID in the chat box. You can connect on that number or you can write an email to that number. So it's never too late to open an NPS account. As soon as you start investing in NPS, you will get a good retirement corpus. Right, Lyle?
Yes, absolutely. So beginning early definitely gives you the advantage for the power of compounding to work for a number of years. However, someone starting at a later stage as well also gets the benefit of tax saving. So that's a double benefit that an individual can avail of through NPS.
Thank you, Lyle, for sharing all the valuable insights on NPS. Let's open the floor for the questions.
Sure.
So we have question from Mr. Madhavan. I am 62 years. Can I close NPS account for getting pension and again reopen the account for investing?
So you can close since you have reached the age of 60, you can definitely close your NPS account. If you wish to open a new NPS account, there is a possibility that can be done. However, since you have reached the age of 62, you have just around another 13 years that you can be part of NPS. So it's rather be beneficial to continue in NPS where you just have to make a minimum contribution of just rupees 1,000 in a financial year.
So we have a add-on question from Mr. Madhavan. Can the investment under equity can be made in index or it is a discretion of the portfolio managers?
So the portfolio managers will disclose where the investment is, where the equity component investment is taking place. So every PFM has to mandatorily disclose the equity component. However, most of the equity investments are in the Nifty 200 index itself.
We have second question from Mr. Sameer. SIP or putting money in PS, they charge the money for every entry. Also 40% you can't do anything.
So every transaction in NPS, there are charges for the same. Uh, Additionally, 40% of that amount is coming to you as annuity. So I would not say that you cannot do anything with that amount. You will be getting that amount as a pension. Additionally, if you have selected an ROP plan upon death of the individual or demise of the individual, 100% of that amount is returned to the nominee.
And also the financial year when you are starting an SIP, you will get the tax benefit during this particular financial
Yes,
year as well, right?
absolutely.
So we have next question from Mr. Kanish Tiwari. No, sorry. will be this PPT. So I'd like to inform all the attendees that this recording will be available on the YouTube channel of HDFC Securities. You can check the recording available over there. So the next question is from Mr. Mukul Agrawal. In new tax regime from April 2025, only employer contribution is eligible for tax benefit of 80 CCD2 of 50,000 is not eligible. Please confirm.
Yes, so only the corporate benefit, that is 80 CCD2, will be applicable in the new tax regime. The individual benefit will not be applicable in the new tax regime, that is the 50,000.
And also, I'd like to add that the percentage has also increased since the 50,000 benefit is not there. From 10%, you can contribute up to 14%. Earlier, it was 10%. Now, you can contribute up to 14% of your basic salary.
Yes.
Next question we have from Mr. Sachin Vaidya. I am covered under old pension scheme of government. I do invest in NPS to avail income tax benefit. I wish to know the following. I shall retire on 31st July 2026 after completing 60 years of age. Please let me know whether it is mandatory to contribute to NPS from 1st April 2026 to 31st July 2026.
Yes, so a minimum contribution of just 1,000 rupees in a financial year needs to be made to keep this account active. In case you miss out on making this 1,000 contribution, then the account goes into a freeze state where you will not be able to do any transactions or not put any further contribution as well. Now, to unfreeze it, you just need to do an additional contribution of 1,000, and in 4 to 5 working days, your account will be unfreezed.
We have an add-on question from Mr. Sachin. I wish to know whether I can close the NPS account and receive the 100% amount, and if yes, when can I do so and what is the procedure?
Yes, so in case the amount, if or rather, in case your age is below 60 years of age and your total amount in NPS is 2.5 lakh rupees or below, then you can make a full withdrawal. And if in case you have crossed 60 years of age and your total corpus value is 5 lakh rupees or below, then full withdrawal is permissible. Uh, in case you have exceeded both these limits, either before the age of 60 or after the age of 60, then either 80-20 rule, or that is 80% pension and 20% lump sum will be applicable. And if you have crossed 60 years of age, then 60% lump sum and minimum 40% towards annuity will be applicable.
Next question we have from Mr. Rahul. My NPS is managed by my corporate office. How can I change my choice of investment?
So you can do so on the web platform through your login. You can log into your NPS account on the cra-nsdl.com portal. Your login ID is your PRAN number, so you can log in through that, and you can make your changes to your NPS account.
Okay. And also, I'd like to mention that PRAN is super portable. So, if your account is mapped to corporate, and in case you have left that particular corporate, you can switch it between the individual account. And also, if you switch the corporate, you can just provide your PRAN number to the current employer, and you can ask them to get the NPS benefit by mapping the PRAN to that particular corporate. Let's take few more question live. So we have a question from Mr. Deepak Patel. I am taking VRS on 1st April 2025. My age is 58 years 8 months. I want to continue making contribution even if I'm not taking employment. Also want to take pension by deferring 3 4 year. Please suggest.
So yes, in case you are taking a VRS, you can continue to be in NPS. You do not need to do any particular action. You just need to ensure that you are contributing at least 1,000 in a financial year. Whenever you wish to take an exit post 60 years of age, you can do so by following the 60-40 applicable rule, 60% lump sum and 40% annuity.
Next question we have from Mr. Deepak. I am a foreign national employed in India. Am I OCI? Can I participate in NPS?
Yes, as an OCI card holder, you can open your NPS account as well.
How to link NPS brand to corporate NPS employee? So, Mr. Krishna, as I've informed, you can just provide your brand number to the HR or the payroll team. They will do the mapping to your corporate. So I guess we have been able to answer all the queries which have been raised. Still, if anyone question have been unanswered, I'll request you to please write to the dedicated help desk IDs which have been mentioned in the chat box. I'll mention it again. And anyone who wish to open the NPS account can just go to 1nps.hdfcsec.com and open the NPS account within 10 minutes. Also, I'd like to thank all the attendees who have taken time to join the session. We will be coming with more webinars on NPS. And also, I'd like to thank Lyle to share the valuable insights on NPS. And we have been able to help our subscriber to understand more about NPS and how they can save tax and create a secure retirement.
Absolutely. So thank you, Akshita, for inviting me to the session today and the webinar. Thank you to all the attendees as well and for the questions. Hope we have able to cover all the details. And as Akshita has rightly put, NPS is a tool to secure your futures in the second innings, that is post your retirement ages.
Thank you, everyone.